Y'all ready? Let's begin! Yeah, Cobra Kai.
Woo!
Season 87, episode 204. Now, it's season 4, episode 1. We've been waiting
Also
a long
known
time.
as
Yeah, also
season
known. It's the
4.
same kind of thing. Look, we've been waiting a year for this to the day.
Yeah. Woo!
Just a day shy. Listen, this was a good start, right? Was it a good start to the
Yeah,
season?
it was a great start.
All right, now the season itself, we've got reviewed in a separate video, but this was a good start. I don't think it was the greatest first episode of a season. Like season 2, I thought started better than this.
Sure.
Season 3, maybe not. Season 3 was different because there was such an aftermath with Miguel that you can't really compare that to anything else.
Right.
But this was interesting. I think the only thing I would say that's really all that negative about it is that the way season 3 ended, it was like there was this deep unity between Daniel and Johnny, right?
Yeah.
And with the music playing, I can feel it coming,
Yeah.
the vibe was so like, okay, we're done fucking around. We are so hyper focused on taking down Kreese's fat ass that this is it. That there was no looking any other way, no chance of having problems with each other or anything. And it really seemed like where season 3 ended, wasn't it like particularly serious? And it seemed like they had it well put together.
It
Daniel
was
and Johnny.
so well done too.
Yeah, and I got the impression that Daniel and Johnny had already discussed what they were going to do. And in usual Cobra Kai fashion, small complaint.
Turned it on the head.
Yeah, they wanted to start it off, and then as soon as Johnny says, "Let's begin,"
Yeah.
then the crowd's like, "Begin with what?" The class doesn't even know what to do.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, they made a big joke out of something serious again. Very typical Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
I wish they didn't do it this time.
You get into like the serious mode and this thought that, all right, now we're getting down to it, and then it all falls apart like instantly. I feel like they just really mess with our heads constantly in this series. I love it, but at the same time, I really crave some of that drama to carry through, or some of those situations to carry through, and then they get turned on their heads, and I have to kind of reboot myself.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So I would have been a little bit happier if instead of going right for the jokes early on and immediately in the first few seconds showing you that Daniel and Johnny had no plan how to work together and they just kind of threw themselves together and that was it. I think that cheapens the show again. They do a lot of this cheapening of the show. So I do wish that they did not cheapen the show that way. They still could have had their cake and eaten it too.
Oh, sure. There's plenty of opportunities for these two to not get along and for their styles to clash. So I just wanted to linger in that moment a little longer.
Yeah, me too. Even if this episode, for the most part, didn't really have those jokes and it had more like, I'll tell you what they never did at all, this whole episode or this whole season. They never flashed back to the events at the end of season 3 where, guys, remember what happened here. Kreese tried to kill Johnny.
Yeah.
And then Daniel was right on the cusp of trying to kill Kreese. Those two things to me majorly changed the whole show.
Yeah.
And here we are the very next episode. And instead of that same aftermath feel that we had after season 2, where season 3, episode 1 was so serious and so dark. And instead of that here, which I thought we could have used again, we went right for the slapstick, the physical humor, just so much goofy bullshit. I think you could have cut the goofy bullshit way down, saved it for more the end of this episode, and initially at least show that everybody is razor focused and only thinking about the fact that Kreese really needs to be stopped now incredibly, right?
Right.
Yeah, but we didn't do that. Once we were done with all the hijinks at Miyagi-Do and all the problems that Daniel and Johnny are obviously having, then we saw a couple of cool. Well, first actually the whole episode really opens with Terry Silver's new place.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for Terry Silver.
Thank you for Terry Silver. Look,
love it.
I don't care what anybody says about Karate Kid Part 3, and I admit, obviously, in our review, if you haven't heard our review of Karate Kid Part 3, we talk about all the flaws, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we own up to that. It's a phenomenal movie despite its mistakes.
Don't ever think that means that we don't love the series.
No, the series is awesome, but there's some weird shit. Karate Kid Part 3 had a lot of those. This episode was brilliant in kind of explaining and justifying how you can use Terry again now and even why he was doing what he was doing back then. Like, I love the fact that he said he hopped up on cocaine the whole time.
Yeah. Didn't I say that before?
Yeah, you
I
did.
said that before.
We got to make a video just about all the things you've gotten right, because you really, and this whole show, by the way, guys, was predicted by the voice of reason here.
Sometimes I can't remember what I've said just to you in our conversations and what I've said when we've done videos. So
Yeah, we won't get too off track. We'll talk about that another time. But you really did think up this entire show's premise of Daniel and Johnny.
long before it came out, like a couple of years before Cobra Kai even started.
Yeah, but anyway, let's stay on this for now, and then
Yes.
we'll talk about that another time. So yeah, Terry Silver talking about how he actually used, and the show likes to do this. They like to let the crowd know, let the audience know that yeah, we know what you're all saying online on Facebook and YouTube.
Yes.
And so what do we always say? We say, like, for example, with Daniel being the bully in the first film,
Yeah.
Daniel's the real bully. So they point that out in the show.
Yeah.
And then we always say, why would Terry Silver, a millionaire, or billionaire, for all I know,
Yeah.
why would he torment a teenager for months? I mean, that's insanity, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that they didn't hide from it, they put it right in, and they didn't try to retcon it either.
Yeah.
And they didn't try to dodge
Thank you for
it,
that.
right? They didn't try to dodge it or ignore it. They just put right out there. Terry actually said outright, look what I did. I was so hopped up on cocaine and revenge that I tormented a teenager for months. You know, he put it
For
right
a
out there.
tournament.
And then, for a karate tournament. And then they even showed all the flashbacks to his most maniacal moments. Like right now, he was barking ravagely like a maniac. And so I thought that was good, just in case anybody couldn't quite remember why they thought Terry was such a ridiculous, cartoony character, kind of like the troll here, smacking himself up on the front of the thumbnail. If there was anyone who couldn't quite remember or never really saw the movie all that well or all that fully, that made it really clear, I think, because they showed the Joker. He was like the Joker back then.
Yeah.
Actually, think about it. That movie came out the same year as Batman, the original, the 1989 Batman.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I would have much preferred Thomas Ian Griffith to just kind of take this portrayal of Terry Silver and have him be the Joker instead of Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people really like Jack Nicholson in that role. I did not.
Yeah.
And I think this would have been better. And his face even looks Jokerish, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, but again, same year. So there was no like difference in anything else in the way he looked. So anyway, that's another story too. But the point is, this was a really good idea to make him acknowledge that, and then to say he got therapy afterward. I think that makes a lot of sense. So it was a good way to set up this season by showing us where Terry's coming from. And then there was that little moment. I thought this was brilliant in this episode when Terry's, what's his girlfriend's name?
Cheyenne.
Yeah, Cheyenne. After that whole party and after Kreese leaves. By the way, when Kreese leaves, you notice he never really says, hey, goodbye, man. I'll see you later. We'll talk another time. He never does that.
Yeah.
He has really trained himself to leave you on a note that makes you think. So he resonates.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's like, tell Cheyenne thank you for the, whatever, the vegan.
The tofu.
The tofu, whatever it was. And then he kind of he leaves you on that note. So now you have to think about if you're Terry Silver, you have to kind of sit there and wallow in, yeah, that's right. We just had some vegan shit and Kreese was kind of laughing at me for it. That's his exit every time. He always leaves you on a little note, right?
Yes, a snark note.
Yeah, a little note of snarkiness, but he says it in a really nice way. Even to LaRusso. Oh, I give my best to Mr. Miyagi for me. You know, he's always such an ass. What a great villain.
Yeah.
I know I did a whole video on saying he's a bad villain, but that's only because he loses like every single time.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But Martin Cove, we love you.
Yeah, we love Martin Cove. We love the whole thing. He's fantastic. All right, so now let's talk about the Terry Silver. So the moment where I felt like that was resonating with him, like what Kreese left him on. But then when Cheyenne says something like, "Oh, is the dinner good?" or there's something about, I forget the line now, but it was something just so posh and so just stupid, relating to either the dinner or Jesus Christ with the bark, something about. So it was something just so innocuous and so posh and rich guy and just meaningless. And it was a really good moment where he just kind of was looking down at his food and he just looked disappointed. And I thought, I really buy that. He's an older guy. He used to be this action-packed dude. He's had to really like neuter himself over the years. And he's kept himself this way now for decades. and all of a sudden Kreese shows up and he's doing his own thing. I really get that. Like
Yeah.
that's all it takes is for one guy to kind of wake up an old friend. And you kind of realize, yeah, let's get back to kicking some fucking ass, huh? Like these
Yep.
guys used to do it all. These guys were war buddies,
Yeah.
So I really bought that. I thought that was a really good scene.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the episode, he's clicking back into old Terry pretty quickly.
Yeah.
When he sees that wine, when he sees the wine bottle, it was kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
something set him off about the wine bottle in the cellar.
Yeah,
What did that wine bottle do to you, Terry?
I don't think that was a reference to
Because he
anything in
kicked the
3.
shit out of it.
Right? I don't remember anything in part 3. We've seen it certainly enough times.
No, something about the bottle just sitting there. It's like it was all teed up. You had to see it.
Yeah, right. So he kicks it and it gets everywhere and it looks
Yeah.
like blood and shit. And other than that, and, Cheyenne, of course, they did a good job too of not making her too annoying.
Yeah.
But to a guy like Terry, I can absolutely see that little bit of feeling of like, what am I doing exactly? I used to be in Vietnam. I was a soldier. I was a martial artist. And now all that shit's gone and we're talking about wines and desserts and shit.
Mhm.
So, yeah, when he did that, you could really start to see him coming back to old Silver.
Yeah. You saw that glimmer in his eye.
What a
that had
brilliant,
been missing up until then.
yeah, what a brilliant way to bring him back. If they brought him back, just he's the same guy he always was, that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too hard to believe that 30 something years have gone by and he's still just this maniac, like age 60 something,
Mm-hmm.
So his character, at least, I know that the actor's a
Right.
little bit younger, but his character is supposed to be in his 60s.
Isn't Thomas Ian Griffith in real life younger than Ralph Macchio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, only by a few months, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's literally younger. And the scenes they have together, I think Thomas Ian Griffith looks 15 years older than Ralph Macchio.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably more than that, really. Yeah. Anyway, how about the scene? I like this a lot where Hawk had that sledgehammer. And at first, Miguel sees him. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing with the sledgehammer?" And then Miguel and
All of them.
they pretty much all came running over. And it turns out all the kids had pretty much put together this idea to build the what the hell you call that? Like a
The Okinawan sparring deck.
there you
they
go,
called it.
sparring deck. I couldn't remember what to call that. Yeah, so they're on they built this Okinawan sparring deck. I thought that was a really good idea, and you made a good point too about how all the kids.
I did. The kids really got it from the very beginning, why it was so important to combine and the benefit of learning from each other. It took the two lunkhead senseis, Johnny and Daniel, the whole season, spoiler alert, to get it and to come together. And the kids, like throughout every episode of the entire season, the kids were really demonstrating that they understood the benefit of the whole thing, and these two guys just cannot get themselves together.
Frankly, the kids figured it out halfway through season 3.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean, they figured it out like maybe episode 6 or 7 of season 3, I think, or maybe 8.
Mm-hmm.
And don't quote me on that. And now here we are, season 4, and they're committed to it, and they see the vision of putting it together. And all Johnny and Daniel can really see are all the problems they're having with each other. By the way, I got to tell you, I mean, LaRusso built that business, just him and his wife, to build a business like that and to sustain it year after year and to grow into all these different locations. You've got to be good at planning and dealing with all kinds of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just funny that's, again, why I think the show's cartoony and not very real life, as much as I love the show. It's not believable to me that LaRusso would have Johnny there and say, all right, we're going to both teach. And then they show up, they yell, let's begin, and they have no plan whatsoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not bagging on the episode. I love this episode. I love everything going on here, but I don't think it was all that believable, and I don't think they should have played it quite as much for laughs so early on. I think there should have been more unity, and then we'll spoil this later on in other episodes, but there's reasons why in later episodes you could really have what Johnny and Daniel were building start to come apart more realistically.
Mm-hmm.
But for this episode, I don't think that should have really happened much. Maybe a little bit towards the end, but very little. For the most part, they should have had a stronger bridge that was built. So, and how about to that moment? Daniel fucking yells at kids all the time. When Hawk is like, oh, these guys don't want to accept me here or something like that.
What did you expect? You burned bridges everywhere.
Yeah, I'm like, well, then what did you expect by having him here, Daniel?
It's like, Daniel.
Dumb fuck. I mean, Daniel is constantly forgetting that he's supposed to be the mentor. Anyway, guys, look, we're going to review episode 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through this season. We'll be back real soon. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And this is going to be a great season to explore.